Question 1. A project team is struggling with a high volume of unplanned work, leading to frequent context switching and an inability to complete committed tasks within sprints. The team is currently using Scrum but feels overwhelmed. Which Agile principle or practice would be most beneficial to address this issue? I. Increasing the sprint length to allow more time for tasks. B. Implementing a Kanban system to visualize work in progress and limit it. C. Assigning a dedicated expediter role to handle urgent unplanned work. D. Conducting more frequent and longer sprint retrospectives to vent frustrations. Answer, B. Implementing a Kanban system to visualize work in progress and limit it. Implementing a Kanban system is highly beneficial because it directly addresses the problem of too much work in progress, WIP, and unplanned tasks. Kanban focuses on visualizing the workflow, limiting WIP, and managing flow, which helps prevent context switching and allows the team to complete items more efficiently. By setting clear WIP limits, the team is forced to finish existing work before pulling in new items, including unplanned ones, thus stabilizing the workflow. For instance, a team might decide only 3 items can be in progress at any time, which helps them focus. Always remember that limiting work in progress is a powerful way to improve focus and throughput in an Agile environment. Question 2. During a sprint review, stakeholders express concern that the product increment, while functional, does not fully align with their evolving understanding of the market needs. The product owner argues that the team built exactly what was prioritized from the product backlog. What is the most appropriate Agile response to this situation? I. The product owner should immediately update the product backlog to reflect stakeholder feedback for the next sprint. B. The development team should commit to reworking the current increment to meet the new understanding. C. The Scrum Master should facilitate a discussion to resolve the conflict between the product owner and stakeholders. D. The project should conduct a formal change request process to document the new requirements. Answer, I. The product owner should immediately update the product backlog to reflect stakeholder feedback for the next sprint. In an Agile context, the sprint review is precisely the event where the product increment is inspected, and the product backlog is adapted based on feedback and evolving market conditions. The product owner's primary responsibility is to maximize the value of the product by managing the product backlog, which includes incorporating new information and stakeholder input. This ensures that future sprints build the most valuable features, embodying Agility's embrace of change. For example, if stakeholders realize a key feature needs a slight modification for a new user segment, the product owner would reprioritize and refine the related items. Remember, the product backlog is a living artifact that reflects the current best understanding of what to build next. Question 3. A newly formed Agile team is struggling with a lack of consistent understanding regarding what "done" means for user stories. This frequently leads to features being accepted by the product owner but later causing issues in integration or testing. What artifact or activity is most crucial to establish and enforce a shared understanding of "done"? I. The sprint goal defined during sprint planning. B. The product backlog refinement sessions. C. A clearly defined and communicated definition of "done." D. Regular daily stand-up meetings to synchronize progress. Answer, C. A clearly defined and communicated definition of "done." A clearly defined and communicated definition of "done" (DODI), is the most crucial element to resolve inconsistencies in understanding when a user story is complete. The DOD is a formal description of the state of the increment when it meets the quality measures required for the product, ensuring everyone shares a common understanding of what it means for work to be done. Without a robust DOD, work might be considered complete by the team but fail to meet essential quality gates like integration testing or documentation, leading to rework and confusion. For instance, a DoD might specify that done includes peer review, automated tests passed, and documentation updated. Always remember that a strong definition of done ensures quality and clarity across the entire Agile team. Question 4. A large organization is transitioning to Agile, and a project manager is overseeing multiple Agile teams working on different components of a single large product. The teams are experiencing integration challenges and dependencies that impact overall product delivery. Which approach would best help the project manager facilitate coordination and address cross-team dependencies in this scaled Agile environment? I. Insisting each team works in isolation to maximize focus on their own deliverables. B. Implementing a Scrum of Scrums meeting where representatives from each team discuss progress and impediments. C. Creating a detailed master project schedule to synchronize all team activities. D. Appointing a single, integration lead, responsible for all cross-team communication and problem-solving. Answer, B. Implementing a Scrum of Scrums meeting where representatives from each team discuss progress and impediments. In a scaled Agile environment with multiple teams working on a single product, a Scrum of Scrums is a well-established practice to facilitate coordination and address cross-team dependencies. This meeting typically involves representatives, often Scrum Masters or designated team members, from each Agile team, who discuss what their team has accomplished, what they plan to do, any impediments impacting other teams, and any anticipated dependencies. This fosters shared awareness and enables proactive problem-solving at a higher level than individual team meetings. For example, if Team A needs an API from Team B, this forum allows them to synchronize and address potential delays. Always remember that effective communication channels are paramount for successful coordination across multiple Agile teams. Question 5. An Agile team's velocity has been consistently decreasing over the last 3 sprints, even though the team composition and sprint length have remained stable. The Scrum Master suspects there are underlying issues but wants to avoid directly accusing team members of underperformance. What is the most appropriate action for the Scrum Master to take? I. Publicly display the velocity trend and ask the team to explain the drop during the daily Scrum. B. Bring the velocity trend to the sprint retrospective as data for discussion and root cause analysis. C. Request the product owner to reduce the scope of upcoming sprints to match the lower velocity. D. Schedule individual meetings with team members to understand their personal challenges. Answer, B. Bring the velocity trend to the sprint retrospective as data for discussion and root cause analysis. The sprint retrospective is the dedicated event for the Agile team to inspect itself and create a plan for improvements, making it the most appropriate venue to discuss a declining velocity trend. Presenting the velocity data here allows the team to collectively and constructively analyze the root causes in a blame-free environment, fostering self-organization and continuous improvement. The Scrum Master facilitates this discussion, helping the team identify issues like technical debt, unclear requirements, or external impediments, without singling out individuals. For instance, the team might realize they are spending too much time on unexpected bugs. Always remember, the retrospective is the ideal place for the team to own and solve its performance challenges. Question 6. A project manager working in a hybrid environment, with some teams using traditional methods and others using Agile, needs to report overall project status to senior management. The management is accustomed to traditional earned value metrics and expects predictability. What is the most effective way for the project manager to communicate progress for the Agile components while still addressing management's need for predictability and traditional metrics? I. Translate Agile metrics like velocity and burn-down charts into traditional earned value, EV, terms using a conversion factor. B. Provide separate reports for Agile and traditional teams, highlighting the differences in progress measurement. C. Focus on delivering frequent, working software demonstrations for the Agile teams, alongside traditional reports for other components. D. Use adaptive planning and forecasting techniques, communicating a range of potential completion dates and focusing on value delivered. Answer, D. Use adaptive planning and forecasting techniques, communicating a range of potential completion dates and focusing on value delivered. The most effective approach in a hybrid environment is to leverage Agile strengths in adaptive planning and focus on communicating value delivery while acknowledging the inherent uncertainty with forecasts. Instead of trying to force-fit Agile into traditional EV, which can be misleading, the project manager should present a range of possible completion dates based on current velocity and remaining work, clearly articulating the assumptions. This honest communication manages expectations by emphasizing delivered value incrementally and providing a realistic forecast range, rather than a single fixed date. For example, instead of saying, "We will finish by X date," the PM might say, "Based on current velocity, we anticipate completing 80% of planned features between dates Y and Z, delivering significant business value each iteration." Remember, transparency and managing expectations are key when blending Agile with traditional reporting needs. Question 7. During a sprint planning meeting, the development team realizes they cannot commit to all the product backlog items proposed by the product owner for the upcoming sprint. The product owner is insistent that all items are crucial. What is the Scrum Master's primary role in facilitating this situation? I. To negotiate with the product owner to remove items until the team agrees to the commitment. B. To ensure the development team makes the final decision on what they can realistically commit to. C. To mediate the discussion, helping both parties understand each other's perspectives and find a mutually agreeable solution. D. To document the disagreement and escalate it to senior management for a decision. Answer, C. To mediate the discussion, helping both parties understand each other's perspectives and find a mutually agreeable solution. The Scrum Master's primary role is to act as a servant leader and facilitator, especially in situations of conflict or misunderstanding between the product owner and the development team. Instead of making decisions for them or taking sides, the Scrum Master should mediate the discussion, ensuring clear communication, and helping both parties understand the constraints and priorities. This involves guiding them towards a collaborative decision where the team commits to a realistic amount of work that aligns with the sprint goal and the product owner's priorities, embodying the principle of self-organization within agreed boundaries. For example, the Scrum Master might suggest exploring slicing a large item into smaller, shippable pieces. Always remember that a Scrum Master empowers the team and product owner to solve their own challenges. Question 8. A key stakeholder frequently bypasses the product owner and directly requests features or changes from the development team, leading to confusion and scope creep within sprints. This behavior undermines the product owner's authority and causes rework. What is the most effective approach for the Scrum Master to address this issue? I. Instruct the development team to politely decline direct requests and redirect the stakeholder to the product owner. B. Escalate the issue to the stakeholder's manager to enforce proper communication channels. C. Facilitate a meeting between the stakeholder, product owner, and development team to clarify communication protocols. D. Add a formal process step to the definition of done requiring product owner approval for all completed items. Answer, C. Facilitate a meeting between the stakeholder, product owner, and development team to clarify communication protocols. The most effective approach for the Scrum Master is to address the communication breakdown directly and collaboratively by facilitating a meeting with all relevant parties. This allows for an open discussion where the Scrum Master can educate the stakeholder on the Scrum framework's roles and responsibilities, particularly the product owner's role as the single point of contact for product scope. Clarifying these protocols directly helps prevent future bypasses and ensures the product owner maintains control over the product backlog, reducing confusion and scope creep. For instance, the Scrum Master might explain that changes not going through the product owner can deprioritize other important work. Remember, direct communication and education are powerful tools for resolving organizational impediments in Agile. Question 9. An Agile team is performing well, consistently delivering working increments, but there is a growing concern that the team is becoming overly focused on individual story completion within sprints and losing sight of the larger product vision. What Agile artifact or activity is specifically designed to maintain focus on the overarching product direction? I. The sprint review, where stakeholders inspect the increment. B. The product backlog, owned by the product owner. C. The sprint goal, established during sprint planning. D. The release planning activity. Answer, B. The product backlog, owned by the product owner. The product backlog, specifically its management by the product owner, is the artifact designed to maintain focus on the overarching product vision and strategic direction. It is an ordered list of everything that might be needed in the product, constantly refined and reprioritized to reflect the most valuable items based on market needs and business goals. While other elements like the sprint goal provide short-term focus, the product backlog serves as the long-term roadmap that connects day-to-day work to the overall vision. For example, a product owner might regularly review the top of the backlog with the team to remind them how their current work contributes to a larger release theme. Always remember that a well-managed product backlog is the living plan for realizing the product vision. Question 10. A Scrum Master observes that the development team often struggles to break down large product backlog items into smaller, shippable user stories during sprint planning, leading to overcommitment or unfinished work. What activity would best help the team improve this skill? I. Encourage the product owner to provide more detailed requirements up front. B. Facilitate dedicated product backlog refinement sessions where the team actively participates. C. Recommend that the team estimate stories using a larger scale, like t-shirt sizes, instead of story points. D. Increase the duration of sprint planning to allow more time for breaking down tasks. Answer, B. Facilitate dedicated product backlog refinement sessions where the team actively participates. Facilitating dedicated product backlog refinement sessions is the best way to help the team improve their skill in breaking down large items. During these sessions, the development team, product owner, and sometimes stakeholders collaboratively discuss, clarify, and estimate product backlog items, breaking larger items into smaller, more manageable user stories. This collaborative effort ensures the team deeply understands the work, identifies dependencies, and learns how to slice value effectively long before sprint planning. For example, a refinement session might involve breaking implement user authentication into register new user, log in existing user, and reset password. Always remember that continuous refinement helps teams prepare and understand work, leading to more successful sprints. Question 11. An Agile team has been consistently meeting its sprint goals, but stakeholders complain that the product, while technically sound, lacks innovative features and seems to follow a conservative path. The product owner is focused on delivering what was initially agreed upon. What Agile principle or practice is most likely being underutilized or overlooked? I. Daily Scrum for internal team synchronization. B. Regular stakeholder engagement and feedback during sprint reviews. C. Strict adherence to the definition of done. D. Maintaining a stable team composition. Answer, B. Regular stakeholder engagement and feedback during sprint reviews. The issue of lacking innovative features and a conservative product path often stems from insufficient or ineffective stakeholder engagement, especially during sprint reviews. The sprint review is specifically designed to allow stakeholders to inspect the increment, provide feedback, and collaboratively adapt the product backlog, fostering a shared understanding of evolving needs and opportunities. If the product owner is solely focused on initial agreements and not actively seeking and incorporating diverse stakeholder insights, the product will struggle to innovate. For instance, inviting a wider range of users to the sprint review might uncover unmet needs or new ideas. Always remember that broad stakeholder feedback is crucial for steering the product towards maximum value and innovation. Question 12. A project manager on a large Agile program notices that several teams are frequently blocked waiting for technical decisions from a centralized architecture group. This external dependency is causing significant delays and unpredictability across multiple sprints. What is the most effective Agile approach to mitigate this organizational impediment? I. Implement a strict service level agreement, SLA, with the architecture group for decision turnaround times. B. Embed architectural expertise directly within the Agile teams to enable faster, decentralized decision-making. C. Elevate the issue to senior management to mandate faster responses from the architecture group. D. Schedule all architecture-dependent tasks at the very end of sprints to minimize their impact. Answer: B. Embed architectural expertise directly within the Agile teams to enable faster, decentralized decision-making. Embedding architectural expertise directly within the Agile teams is the most effective long-term solution to mitigate delays caused by external technical decision dependencies. This practice promotes decentralized decision-making, allowing teams to resolve architectural questions quickly and autonomously without constant external bottlenecks. It fosters a more empowered and self-organizing environment, aligning with Agile principles of empowered teams and swift execution. For example, having an architect as a part-time or full-time team member means technical guidance is readily available during daily work. Remember, bringing expertise closer to the work streamlines processes and reduces external impediments. Question 13. An Agile team is consistently failing to deliver all committed items by the end of the sprint, despite working overtime. The Scrum Master has identified that the team members are individually focused on their own tasks and not effectively swarming or helping each other. What core Agile value is most lacking, and what action should the Scrum Master encourage? I. Openness: encourage team members to openly share their task progress. B. Respect: encourage team members to respect each other's individual working styles. C. Commitment: encourage team members to commit more strongly to their individual tasks. D. Focus: encourage team members to collaborate and swarm on priority items. Answer: D. Focus: encourage team members to collaborate and swarm on priority items. The core Agile value most lacking in this scenario is focus, specifically the collective focus on completing sprint goals rather than individual tasks. When team members only focus on their own work, the goal of completing a valuable increment together is jeopardized, leading to unfinished items. The Scrum Master should encourage the team to collaborate, practice swarming, multiple team members working together on a single high-priority item, and cross-train to eliminate bottlenecks and ensure the most important work gets done as a team. For instance, if one developer is stuck, another might pair with them or pick up a related task to unblock the flow. Always remember, collective team focus on the sprint goal is paramount for successful Agile delivery. Question 14. A product release is fast approaching, and critical regulatory compliance features are still in progress. The product owner is pressuring the development team to cut corners on testing and documentation to meet the deadline. The development team is concerned about product quality and future technical debt. What is the most appropriate course of action for the Scrum Master? I. Support the product owner's decision to cut corners to meet the crucial deadline. B. Facilitate a discussion to highlight the risks of compromising the definition of done and regulatory compliance. C. Instruct the development team to ignore the product owner and maintain quality standards. D. Negotiate with the regulatory body for an extension on the compliance deadline. Answer, B. Facilitate a discussion to highlight the risks of compromising the definition of done and regulatory compliance. The Scrum Master's role is to protect the team and the process, and compromising the definition of done, DOTI, for critical regulatory features carries significant risks. The Scrum Master should facilitate a discussion with the product owner and development team, clearly articulating the long-term consequences of technical debt, quality degradation, and potential non-compliance. This discussion should emphasize that regulatory compliance is often part of the DoD and cannot be sacrificed without severe repercussions, helping everyone understand the trade-offs. For example, the Scrum Master might present data on past bug rates from rushed features. Always remember, the Scrum Master defends the quality standards and process integrity to ensure a sustainable pace and a healthy product. Question 15. A distributed Agile team is struggling with communication, leading to misunderstandings and delayed decisions. Team members are in different time zones, making real-time collaboration challenging. What is the most effective strategy to improve communication and foster collaboration in this scenario? I. Mandate that all team members adjust their working hours to overlap significantly. B. Rely primarily on asynchronous communication tools and ensure clear documentation of decisions. C. Increase the frequency of virtual team-building activities and social calls. D. Appoint a dedicated communication coordinator for each time zone. Answer, B. Rely primarily on asynchronous communication tools and ensure clear documentation of decisions. For distributed teams across different time zones, relying primarily on well-managed asynchronous communication tools and ensuring clear documentation of decisions is the most effective strategy. While some overlap for synchronous meetings is beneficial, it's often not feasible for significant portions of the day. Asynchronous tools like shared wikis, project management software, and discussion forums allow team members to contribute and consume information at their convenience, bridging time zone gaps. Clearly documenting decisions, such as in meeting notes or dedicated decision logs, ensures everyone has access to the same information regardless of when they are online. For example, daily stand-up updates might be posted to a shared channel rather than a live call. Always remember that clear asynchronous communication and transparency are crucial for distributed Agile teams. Question 16. A program manager is overseeing a portfolio of Agile projects. They notice that while individual teams are delivering valuable increments, there's a lack of strategic alignment across projects, leading to potential duplication of effort and missed opportunities for synergy. What role or mechanism is typically responsible for ensuring this strategic alignment in a scaled Agile context? I. The individual Scrum Masters coordinating directly with each other. B. A centralized project management office, PMO, dictating project priorities. C. A product management function or a chief product owner role. D. The portfolio management team defining investment themes and strategic initiatives. Answer, D. The portfolio management team defining investment themes and strategic initiatives. In a scaled Agile context, the portfolio management team is typically responsible for ensuring strategic alignment across multiple projects or programs. This team defines investment themes, strategic initiatives, and epics, providing the overarching guidance and guardrails that individual Agile teams work within. They prioritize and fund value streams, ensuring that all projects contribute to the organization's strategic goals and minimize duplication of effort. For example, the portfolio team might decide to fund initiatives focused on customer retention and new market entry, and then individual Agile teams align their project goals with these themes. Remember that strategic alignment at the portfolio level directs Agile efforts towards the most impactful business outcomes. Question 17. The product owner is struggling to prioritize the product backlog effectively. They often change priorities mid-sprint, leading to significant disruption and a lack of focus for the development team. What technique would best help the product owner improve their prioritization skills and decision-making? I. Conduct more frequent sprint reviews to gather stakeholder feedback. B. Utilize value-driven prioritization techniques like Moscow, weighted shortest job first, WSJF, or Kano analysis. C. Delegate prioritization decisions to the development team. D. Increase the size of the product backlog to offer more choices. Answer: B. Utilize value-driven prioritization techniques like Moscow, weighted shortest job first, WSJF, or Kano analysis. Utilizing structured value-driven prioritization techniques is the best way to help the product owner improve their decision-making and reduce mid-sprint priority changes. Techniques like Moscow, must have, should have, could have, won't have, weighted shortest job first, WSJF, or Kano analysis provide a systematic framework to evaluate and order product backlog items based on business value, effort, risk, and other relevant factors. This provides transparency and a clear rationale for decisions, helping to resist arbitrary changes. For instance, WSJF encourages prioritizing items that deliver high value quickly, and Moscow helps differentiate essential features from desirable ones. Always remember that robust prioritization methods ensure the product backlog consistently reflects the most valuable work. Question 18. An Agile team has delivered several successful increments, but team morale is starting to decline due to a feeling of relentless pressure and a lack of recognition. The Scrum Master has noticed this trend. What is the most effective action for the Scrum Master to take to address this issue? I. Encourage team members to take individual breaks and reduce their workload. B. Facilitate a sprint retrospective discussion focused on team well-being and recognition. C. Request the product owner to ease deadlines and reduce the scope of upcoming sprints. D. Organize mandatory team-building events outside of working hours. Answer: B. Facilitate a sprint retrospective discussion focused on team well-being and recognition. The most effective action for the Scrum Master is to address the declining morale and lack of recognition directly within the sprint retrospective. This event provides a safe and structured environment for the team to openly discuss their feelings, identify root causes of pressure, and collaboratively brainstorm solutions related to their well-being and how recognition can be improved. The Scrum Master's facilitation can guide the team to create actionable improvement items they own. For example, the team might decide to start acknowledging individual contributions during the daily Scrum or to hold informal celebrations after each successful sprint. Always remember that the retrospective is the team's dedicated time to improve how they work, including their happiness and sustainability. Question 19. During a daily Scrum, a team member consistently provides detailed updates on every task they worked on, often taking 5 to 7 minutes, causing the meeting to drag and other team members to lose focus. What is the most appropriate action for the Scrum Master? I. Allow the team member to continue, as transparency is important in Agile. B. Politely remind the team member of the time box and the purpose of the daily Scrum. C. Ask the team member to provide their detailed updates in a separate meeting with the product owner. D. Implement a talking stick rule to limit each person's speaking time strictly. Answer: B. Politely remind the team member of the time box and the purpose of the daily Scrum. The most appropriate action for the Scrum Master is to politely remind the team member of the daily Scrum's time box and its specific purpose. The daily Scrum is a 15-minute time-boxed event for the development team to inspect progress toward the sprint goal and adapt the sprint backlog, not to provide detailed status reports on individual tasks. The Scrum Master, as a facilitator, should gently guide the team to focus on the 3 questions. What did I do yesterday that helped the development team meet the sprint goal? What will I do today to help the development team meet the sprint goal? And, do I see any impediments that prevent me or the development team from meeting the sprint goal? For example, the Scrum Master might say, "Thanks for the update, name. Let's keep the updates concise and focused on impediments and progress towards our sprint goal for the sake of time." Remember, the Scrum Master helps the team adhere to Scrum practices for maximum effectiveness. Question 20. A product owner is struggling to manage a large and complex product backlog that includes a mix of new features, technical debt, and bug fixes. The sheer volume makes it difficult to maintain clarity and communicate priorities effectively to stakeholders. What technique would be most beneficial for the product owner to manage this complexity? I. Reduce the frequency of product backlog refinement meetings to avoid overwhelming the team. B. Organize the product backlog into themes, epics, and user stories. C. Delegate the responsibility of maintaining the product backlog to the development team. D. Insist on a fixed set of requirements up front to minimize changes. Answer: B. Organize the product backlog into themes, epics, and user stories. Organizing the product backlog into a hierarchical structure of themes, epics, and user stories is a highly effective technique for managing a large and complex backlog. This structure provides multiple levels of detail, allowing the product owner to communicate the big picture, themes and epics, to stakeholders while retaining the granular details, user stories, for the development team. It helps in breaking down complex requirements, improving clarity, and facilitating prioritization by allowing focus on strategic initiatives before diving into individual tasks. For example, a customer onboarding theme might contain streamlined registration epic, which then breaks down into login with social media user stories. Remember, structured backlog organization brings clarity and manageability to complex products. Question 21. An agile team is performing well and consistently delivering value. However, the organization's traditional HR policies for performance reviews are causing friction, as they focus on individual contributions rather than team outcomes, and do not acknowledge agile roles. What is the project manager's most appropriate action as an organizational change agent in this situation? I. Insist that the team adapt to the existing HR policies to avoid conflict. B. Advocate for changes to HR policies to align with agile principles of team-based performance and collaboration. C. Shield the team from HR reviews and conduct informal performance feedback. D. Document the misalignments and present them to the team during a sprint retrospective. Answer: B. Advocate for changes to HR policies to align with agile principles of team-based performance and collaboration. As an organizational change agent, the project manager's most appropriate action is to advocate for changes to HR policies to align them with agile principles. Agile success heavily relies on team collaboration and collective ownership, which traditional individual-focused performance reviews can undermine by fostering competition rather than cooperation. The project manager should work with HR to explain the needs of agile teams and propose more suitable frameworks that recognize team performance, cross-functional collaboration, and continuous feedback. For instance, proposing a team-level bonus structure or 360-degree feedback could be options. Remember, successfully scaling agile often requires adapting organizational systems to support new ways of working. Question 22. A project manager is leading an agile project where the initial budget estimates were created using traditional methods, and now the sponsor is demanding a fixed-price contract with a vendor for the remaining work, despite the inherent uncertainty of the project. What is the best agile-aligned recommendation the project manager can provide to manage this situation? I. Advise against a fixed-price contract due to agile's adaptive nature, and suggest a time and materials contract. B. Recommend a fixed-price contract, but ensure the scope is strictly defined and frozen up front. C. Suggest a fixed-price contract based on frequent, small increments with clearly defined value and options for rescoping. D. Propose a cost-plus incentive fee contract to motivate the vendor to deliver quickly. Answer, C. Suggest a fixed-price contract based on frequent, small increments with clearly defined value and options for rescoping. When faced with a fixed-price demand in an Agile context, the best Agile-aligned recommendation is to suggest a fixed-price contract based on frequent, small increments with clearly defined value and options for rescoping. This approach allows the organization to control costs, fixed price per increment, while maintaining agility by only committing to small, well-understood chunks of work. Each increment delivers value, and after each delivery, the scope for subsequent increments can be re-evaluated and adjusted based on new information or market feedback, effectively managing uncertainty. For example, instead of a fixed price for the entire product, the contract could define a fixed price for Phase 1. Minimum viable product, with clear acceptance criteria. Remember, fixed-price Agile contracts can work if they embrace iterative delivery and allow for adaptive scope at defined intervals. Question 23. A development team constantly finds itself building features that require significant re-architecture or refactoring of existing code, leading to increased technical debt and slowing down future development. This issue is usually identified late in the sprint. What practice would best help the team proactively manage and reduce technical debt? I. Dedicate a fixed percentage of each sprint to refactoring and technical debt reduction. B. Implement a stricter definition of done that includes thorough architectural review. C. Request the product owner to prioritize a dedicated technical debt sprint once a quarter. D. Stop all new feature development until all existing technical debt is eliminated. Answer, I. Dedicate a fixed percentage of each sprint to refactoring and technical debt reduction. The most effective and sustainable practice for managing and reducing technical debt is to dedicate a fixed percentage of each sprint to refactoring and proactive technical debt reduction. This ensures that technical debt is addressed continuously as part of ongoing work, preventing it from accumulating into a crippling burden. It becomes a routine part of done and helps maintain the health of the code base, ensuring a sustainable pace of development. For example, a team might agree that 15% of sprint capacity is allocated to addressing architectural improvements or improving code quality. Always remember that treating technical debt as a continuous activity, rather than a separate project, is key to Agile longevity. Question 24. A stakeholder is demanding a detailed Gantt chart with fixed dates for every feature in an Agile project, citing company policy. The Agile team relies on adaptive planning and iterative delivery. What is the most appropriate way for the project manager to manage this expectation while adhering to Agile principles? I. Provide a high-level roadmap with anticipated release cycles and key features, explaining the adaptive nature of Agile. B. Create a fake Gantt chart to satisfy the stakeholder, knowing it will change frequently. C. Insist the stakeholder attend all sprint planning meetings to understand the adaptive process. D. Switch the project to a traditional waterfall approach to meet the company policy. Answer, I. Provide a high-level roadmap with anticipated release cycles and key features, explaining the adaptive nature of Agile. The most appropriate approach is to manage stakeholder expectations by providing a high-level roadmap with anticipated release cycles and key features, while clearly explaining the adaptive nature of Agile planning. This offers a sense of predictability and direction without locking into rigid, unrealistic dates that will inevitably change. It educates the stakeholder on how Agile embraces change and delivers value incrementally, focusing on feature delivery over strict adherence to a fixed schedule. For example, instead of Feature X by June 15, the roadmap might show Release 3, Q3. Focus on core reporting features. Always remember to translate Agile principles into terms stakeholders can understand, bridging the gap between adaptive and predictive expectations. Question 25. An Agile team is struggling with frequent changes to their sprint backlog during a sprint, often initiated by external requests or new insights. This leads to disruption, unfinished work, and frustration. What is the most fundamental Agile concept being violated here? I. Transparency, as changes are not visible to the entire team. B. Adaptation, as the team is not adjusting to new information. C. Timeboxing, as the sprint goal is being undermined. D. Self-organization, as external parties are dictating work. Answer, C. Timeboxing, as the sprint goal is being undermined. The most fundamental Agile concept being violated by frequent mid-sprint changes to the sprint backlog is timeboxing, specifically the sanctity of the sprint. A sprint is a timeboxed period during which the development team works to achieve a defined sprint goal, and once committed, the sprint backlog should remain stable. Frequent changes undermine the sprint goal, disrupt the team's focus, and prevent them from delivering a potentially shippable increment, fundamentally breaking the rhythm of Agile delivery. For example, if a new high-priority bug comes in, the product owner might work with the team to swap an item out, but this should be a rare exception. Always remember that protecting the sprint's timebox and its goal is critical for team focus and successful Agile execution. Question 26. A PMP candidate is learning about different Agile scaling frameworks. Which framework emphasizes 10 strategic competencies and provides a comprehensive approach for coordinating large solutions and portfolios? I. Scrum at Scale. B. Large-scale Scrum, less. C. Disciplined Agile, day. D. Scaled Agile Framework, SAFe. Answer, D. Scaled Agile Framework, SAFe. The Scaled Agile Framework, SAFe, is the Agile scaling framework that emphasizes 10 strategic competencies and provides a comprehensive approach for coordinating large solutions and portfolios. SAFe is known for its prescriptive guidance and structured approach to scaling Agile across large enterprises, offering different configurations, essential, large solution, portfolio, full SAFe, to address various organizational needs. It provides a robust set of roles, events, and artifacts to align development teams with business strategy. For instance, SAFe's Agile release trains synchronize multiple teams to deliver large solutions. Remember, SAFe is often chosen by large organizations looking for extensive guidance on enterprise-wide Agile adoption. Question 27. An Agile project team has identified a high-impact, high-probability technical risk during sprint planning. The risk could potentially derail the entire sprint if it materializes. What is the most Agile-aligned approach to address this risk within the current sprint? I. Create a detailed contingency plan and allocate additional buffer time for the risk. B. Prioritize tasks to mitigate or eliminate the risk early in the sprint, even if it delays other features. C. Escalate the risk to senior management for a decision on how to proceed. D. Defer the risky feature to a later sprint to allow more time for analysis. Answer, B. Prioritize tasks to mitigate or eliminate the risk early in the sprint, even if it delays other features. The most Agile-aligned approach to address a high-impact, high-probability risk within the current sprint is to prioritize tasks to mitigate or eliminate it early. Agile philosophy encourages tackling risks proactively and fail fast, rather than deferring them, which can lead to larger problems later. By making risk mitigation a priority, the team gains early insight, reduces uncertainty, and protects the sprint's ability to deliver value, even if it means adjusting other less critical items. For example, the team might start by building a small spike or proof of concept to de-risk a complex technical integration. Always remember, Agile teams address risks head-on to maintain flow and predictability. Question 28. A key stakeholder is consistently demanding detailed documentation and sign-offs for every minor feature, citing a need for robust audit trails. This traditional approach is slowing down the Agile team's progress. What is the most effective Agile aligned strategy for the project manager to address this stakeholder's concern? I. Inform the stakeholder that Agile projects do not typically produce extensive documentation. B. Collaborate with the stakeholder to define a minimum viable documentation standard that meets audit needs without hindering agility. C. Assign a dedicated technical writer to the team to manage all documentation requirements. D. Create comprehensive documentation after each release to satisfy the audit requirements retrospectively. Answer: B. Collaborate with the stakeholder to define a minimum viable documentation standard that meets audit needs without hindering agility. The most effective Agile-aligned strategy is to collaborate with the stakeholder to define a minimum viable documentation standard that meets their audit needs without hindering agility. Agile embraces just enough documentation, prioritizing working software over comprehensive documentation, but acknowledges that some documentation is necessary, especially for compliance. By involving the stakeholder, the project manager can find a pragmatic balance, ensuring critical information is captured while avoiding unnecessary overhead. For example, they might agree on a concise system design overview and automated test reports as sufficient for audits, rather than detailed spec documents for every feature. Always remember, Agile teams seek to satisfy stakeholders through collaboration and continuous delivery, including adapting documentation to their needs. Question 29. A new Agile team member frequently points out problems and potential issues but rarely offers solutions or actively helps in resolving them. This behavior is starting to demotivate other team members. What is the most constructive way for the Scrum Master to address this situation? I. Encourage the team to address the issue directly with the team member during a sprint retrospective. B. Hold a private conversation with the team member to coach them on problem solving and collaboration. C. Assign the team member to tasks that require less interaction with others. D. Discuss the issue with the product owner to determine if the team member should be removed from the project. Answer: B. Hold a private conversation with the team member to coach them on problem solving and collaboration. The most constructive way for the Scrum Master to address this situation is to hold a private conversation with the team member to coach them on problem solving and collaboration. As a servant leader and coach, the Scrum Master should provide individual guidance, helping the team member understand the importance of not just identifying problems but also contributing to solutions within a self-organizing team. This approach fosters personal growth and integrates the team member more effectively without public shaming or immediate escalation. For example, the Scrum Master might ask, "What are your ideas for solving that?" or "How can we, as a team, work together on this challenge?" Always remember that coaching individuals is a key part of the Scrum Master's role in building strong, collaborative teams. Question 30. An Agile team is experiencing analysis paralysis during product backlog refinement sessions. They spend excessive time discussing and debating the smallest details of user stories, preventing efficient progress. What technique can the product owner and Scrum Master use to improve the efficiency of these sessions? I. Timebox the refinement sessions and individual story discussions strictly. B. Insist that the product owner come to refinement with fully detailed user stories. C. Delegate all story breakdown and estimation to a subgroup of technical leads. D. Reduce the frequency of refinement sessions to allow more time for other tasks. Answer: I. Timebox the refinement sessions and individual story discussions strictly. To improve the efficiency of product backlog refinement sessions and combat analysis paralysis, the most effective technique is to strictly timebox the sessions and individual story discussions. Timeboxing creates a sense of urgency, encourages focus on the most important details for immediate action, and prevents endless debate over minor points. The goal of refinement is to gain enough understanding to estimate and begin work, not to fully document every detail up front. For example, the Scrum Master might allocate 10 minutes per story for discussion, then move on. Always remember that timeboxing is a fundamental Agile principle that applies to all events and activities, promoting efficiency and decisive action. Question 31. A critical bug is discovered in production shortly after a release. The development team is in the middle of a sprint and has a full sprint backlog. What is the most Agile-aligned approach to address this high-priority production bug? I. Stop the current sprint, resolve the bug, and then restart sprint planning for a new sprint. B. The product owner, in collaboration with the development team, makes a decision to swap out a lower priority item from the sprint backlog to address the bug. C. Assign a dedicated bug fix team to handle all production issues separately from sprint work. D. Complete the current sprint as planned, then address the bug in the subsequent sprint. Answer, B. The product owner, in collaboration with the development team, makes a decision to swap out a lower priority item from the sprint backlog to address the bug. When a critical production bug emerges mid-sprint, the most Agile-aligned approach is for the product owner, in collaboration with the development team, to decide whether to swap out a lower priority item from the current sprint backlog to address the bug. This approach protects the sprint goal as much as possible, acknowledges the need for immediate action, and ensures the team's capacity is managed transparently. It upholds the principle of a stable sprint but allows for adaptive response to critical external events without completely disrupting the rhythm. For example, a less urgent user story might be moved back to the product backlog to make room for the bug fix. Always remember, while sprint commitments are valuable, responding to critical emergent needs is paramount for delivering value and maintaining product health. Question 32. An organization is considering adopting Agile across several departments but is concerned about measuring return on investment, ROI, without traditional upfront comprehensive planning. How can the project manager best address these concerns regarding financial justification in an Agile environment? I. Focus on measuring team velocity and burn-down rates as proxies for ROI. B. Demonstrate ROI through early and continuous delivery of valuable, working software that generates business value. C. Conduct detailed upfront financial modeling for the entire project lifecycle, similar to traditional projects. D. Advise the organization that Agile projects do not emphasize strict ROI measurement. Answer, B. Demonstrate ROI through early and continuous delivery of valuable, working software that generates business value. The best way to address concerns about financial justification in an Agile environment is to demonstrate ROI through early and continuous delivery of valuable, working software that directly generates business value. Agile projects inherently focus on delivering the highest priority features frequently, allowing the organization to realize benefits incrementally and inspect the product's market fit. This enables early validation of value and allows for adaptive investment decisions, proving ROI through tangible outcomes rather than just upfront estimates. For instance, launching a minimum viable product, MVP, and measuring early customer adoption or revenue generation clearly shows financial return. Always remember, Agile proves its worth by delivering real value frequently, not just by planning meticulously. Question 33. A Scrum Master is coaching a new development team that is struggling with self-organization. Team members constantly look to the Scrum Master or Product Owner for task assignments rather than pulling work themselves. What is the most effective coaching technique for the Scrum Master to encourage self-organization? I. Create a detailed task assignment matrix for the team to follow during sprint planning. B. Continuously remind the team of their responsibility to self-organize and pull tasks during daily scrums. C. Facilitate discussions that empower the team to collectively decide on task ownership and problem solving, without providing direct answers. D. Assign a team lead who will be responsible for distributing tasks among team members. Answer, C. Facilitate discussions that empower the team to collectively decide on task ownership and problem solving, without providing direct answers. To encourage self-organization, the Scrum Master should facilitate discussions that empower the team to collectively decide on task ownership and problem solving, crucially without providing direct answers. Instead of giving solutions, the Scrum Master should ask powerful questions like, "How do you think we should approach this?" or "Who feels capable of tackling this item?" This coaching approach fosters critical thinking, builds team confidence, and helps them internalize the principles of self-management and shared responsibility. For example, during sprint planning, the Scrum Master might step back and let the team decide how to break down and assign stories. Always remember, a Scrum Master coaches and guides, rather than dictates, to help teams discover their own path to self-organization. Question 34. A project manager is working with a geographically dispersed Agile team. To enhance transparency and facilitate quick decision-making, they want to establish effective information radiators. Which of the following is the best example of an information radiator for a distributed Agile team? I. A physical Scrum board prominently displayed in the main office. B. A comprehensive project management document stored in a shared drive. C. A digital Kanban board or task management tool accessible online by all team members. D. Weekly email updates sent to all stakeholders summarizing progress. Answer: C. A digital Kanban board or task management tool accessible online by all team members. For a geographically dispersed Agile team, a digital Kanban board or task management tool accessible online by all team members is the best example of an effective information radiator. Unlike physical boards, a digital board provides real-time visibility into the team's work in progress, bottlenecks, and overall flow, regardless of location or time zone. It enables everyone to quickly inspect the state of the work at any time, promoting transparency and facilitating informed decision-making without requiring synchronous communication for every update. For instance, tools like Jira, Trello, or Azure DevOps offer features like digital boards that visualize tasks and their status. Always remember that information radiators for distributed teams need to be easily accessible and updatable online. Question 35. A project is using a hybrid approach, combining traditional gate reviews at major milestones with agile delivery for specific product features. During a gate review, senior management expresses concern that the Agile team's continuous integration practices mean they don't have a stable testing phase before release, as per traditional expectations. How should the project manager address this concern effectively? I. Explain that continuous integration means testing is an ongoing, integrated part of development, resulting in potentially shippable increments at all times. B. Propose a dedicated hardening sprint before each release to conduct all final testing. C. Agree to pause development temporarily to allow for a formal, traditional testing phase. D. Provide a detailed schedule of all automated tests being run and their pass/fail rates. Answer: I. Explain that continuous integration means testing is an ongoing, integrated part of development, resulting in potentially shippable increments at all times. The most effective way to address concerns about a lack of a traditional testing phase in a hybrid environment is to clearly explain how continuous integration, CI, integrates testing throughout the development cycle. CI means that code changes are frequently merged into a central repository, and automated tests are run immediately, making testing an ongoing, inherent part of development, not a separate phase. This ensures that the product increment is always potentially shippable and of high quality, which is superior to a single, late testing phase. For example, demonstrating an automated test suite passing after every code commit helps illustrate this integrated quality approach. Always remember, continuous integration and continuous testing ensure quality from the start, rather than waiting until the end.